Hey everybody, Kickers here. Welcome to Hey, Why Not? Demon Souls. So this is post commentary because, well, I was streaming this session. Of course, that's what I've been doing lately is just streaming, and um, and so. I forgot to turn on my microphone when I did this session, and it really sucks because I did all this like lore discussion and things like that, and just none of it got recorded. It was a complete waste of time. So anyway, I'm going to do post commentary on this episode, and I'll edit it together in Windows or in a Sony movie studio and get all that put together. But in this episode, I don't even remember what we did. I think I was checking my arrows here because I was planning on taking out the dragon in Boletaria 2. So let's see, what am I doing here? Oh, I had duped some arrows. I guess at this point I had already started duping, so sorry. It's really hard for me to remember this stuff. I mean, this was recorded a few days ago now. Yeah, what the hell? I guess I was checking the difference between light arrows and regular arrows. And then, what was I doing here? Who knows? I was still fucking around. Oh, I guess I'm duping holy arrows.
Alex, you'll... That's a hard...
Hello again. You have a heart of gold.
Yeah, so I duped some holy arrows right there.
Hello again.
And I guess I took about 100 out to go fight the dragon.
You have a heart of gold.
Usually, well, in Boletaria 2, you can get a short compound long, or a short compound longbow, a compound short bow. And so that is like the item, I think, if you're playing through for the first time, that's like the item you would try to use to take out the dragon. But in this instance, I went to Shrine of Storms and picked up the compound longbow, and I also upgraded it to sticky compound longbow +5, which is like the most powerful longbow upgrade that the most powerful bow upgrade that you can get in the game. So I'm doing the most damage that I can. And then I also duped these holy arrows so that I could just take out the dragon as quickly as possible so as to waste as little time as possible for this stream. And Boletaria 2 isn't a very long stage, really, and it's pretty straightforward as far as design goes. I mean, it's really just a bridge, and then it leads up to the courtyard where you fight the what's that guy called? Iron Golem? No, Iron Golem is Demon or Dark Souls. What is that guy called? I don't remember. We'll see. Anyway, it's a pretty straightforward stage, but it is interesting because the bridge is multi-leveled. I don't really know why I was bothering to take out all these guys. Maybe I was just doing it because I had upgraded the Crescent Falchion and I wanted to show it off. But I had already showed it off in the last episode because we destroyed the Flame Lurker with it, so I don't know what I was doing, to be honest. I couldn't tell you. Oh, and yeah, I went to check and see if I could get Ostrava's dialogue, because the first time I came through here, I kind of skipped through his first line, but he doesn't speak again, so that didn't work out. Leaping over that dead horse there. There's the dragon. Which we've already seen the dragon, because I had talked about it or I had come here briefly before, and then I decided to go back and upgrade the bow and everything, and we ended up doing most of Stonefang. And as you'll see, I failed this parry, and then like that keeps happening to me. My shield keeps getting like unequipped, and I don't know if it's just because there it happened again. I don't know if it's something wrong with my PS3 controller, or if I'm just like slipping and hitting the button. I can't really tell while I'm playing, and even watching it in post, I can't really tell what the hell's going on there. So I don't know. Yeah, killing this dragon is quite a time-consuming thing, which is why I went through all the trouble of trying to get the Spider Stone and then ending up duping the Spider Stone, because it takes so long. Like if you do it without if you do it with an unupgraded bow and just regular arrows, it takes forever. Like I can't even tell you. I mean, it takes a lot longer. I've tried to do it in New Game Plus, and it takes way longer than that, because unlike the other games in the series, I actually feel like Demon Souls New Game Plus gets a larger boost than any, like a percentage boost to the enemy strength and the enemy health, like more so than any other game in the Souls series. I don't know. And while I'm standing here trying to kill this dragon for like the next 10 minutes, I wanted to talk a little bit about my history with the Souls games, because like I started playing the Souls series with Dark Souls, and I got Dark Souls 1 on the day it came out. I got it for Xbox 360, and I was really excited because I had heard of Demon Souls, and I had always thought it sounded like such a cool game, like a game I would be super, like, just really interested in. But I was really bummed because at that time I didn't have a PS3. I had an Xbox 360, and I was like, I'm not going to buy a PS3 for just one game. But I always thought if I did do that, I would definitely get Demon Souls. It's like the first game I would get if I bought a PS3. And so I remember at that time I was subscribed to Electronic Gaming Monthly, EGM, when it was still, like the actual print magazine was still being published. And I think they published a review of Demon Souls, and they gave it like pretty good scores for the most part. It's nothing impressive. It's not like the Dark Souls games or Bloodborne that got like universal praise, because at that time, you know, it wasn't a big deal. It was the first game in the series, and it was kind of it was pretty niche thing at that time. So, you know, but I saw the review and I was like, oh man, like it looked so cool. I really, really wanted it, but I couldn't get it. So it was always in the back of my mind that I wanted to play it, but I just never got the chance to. And then Dark Souls was announced, and it was announced that it was going to be multi-platform, and I was like, yes, absolutely, I am buying Dark Souls on the day it comes out for Xbox 360, and I got like the special edition version of it that came in like the tin box, and it came with like an art book, and it was supposed to come with a soundtrack and like a map or something like that, and that stuff ended up being turned into digital release, which I was really disappointed by, because it never said it was going to be a digital release. They had always said like, oh, this is going to be something that you get physically with the game, and then suddenly it was like, no, this is digital. The only thing that's real is the art book. And then the art book was such shit quality, like the pages. I've only opened it like maybe 3 times, honestly, maybe 3 times, and pages are falling out of it. It's such a piece of shit. The art inside of it is awesome, and it even has some enemies that weren't even included in the main game. Like there's an enemy that looks like it's based on like the Fat Minister from this game, but it has like crab legs or something. It looks really freaky, but it's not in the final game, but it's just concept artwork, and so that stuff is really cool. But the quality of the printing and the quality of the binding in that little book is such shit. Like, it's so awful. But anyway, I digress. Dark Souls 1 was amazing, and I played the shit out of it. Like, and I started so many characters and played through New Game. I think I played up to like New Game +4 with one of my characters, but I always liked just creating a new character and starting a new game and trying to think of new ways to build characters. And I loved PvE. I like co-op a lot too, and to this day I still like co-op a lot in Souls games, but I'm not a big PvP fan. I just feel like it's too laggy, and you know, I have pretty good internet, but like even in Bloodborne and like Dark Souls 3, like the PvP is so laggy, and I know people get used to it, and I really enjoy watching like fight clubs and watching streams of PvP, like Peeve Peterson and like Ouroboros. Like those guys put out great content, and it's really enjoyable to watch that stuff, but I just don't like playing it. In Dark Souls 1, I tried to make a PvP character, and I PvP'd for a bit, but I quickly lost interest. But playing PvE and playing co-op and just playing through Dark Souls and creating different characters and fighting bosses in different order and all that, that was great. And like I have Dark Souls 1 on Xbox 360, and then when the DLC came out, the Artorias of the Abyss, I bought that immediately, and then I also bought it on PC a little bit later, and I also picked up a used copy of the Japanese version of the game. So I have 3 different versions of Dark Souls 1 across, I don't know, yeah, across 3 different platforms. So I love that game. And then after that, I killed the dragon. There we go. And I've only ended up talking about one of the games. Well, anyway, I got the small flame scale Demon Soul. But anyway, I guess I'll just continue. So I played the shit out of Dark Souls 1. There you go. And then after that, I had moved to Japan, and I live in Japan now. I think I've probably mentioned that before in one of my videos. But I live in Japan. I've lived here for almost 5 years. And so I moved to Japan in like March of 2013, and later in like the fall of 2013, I bought a PS3. I bought a Japanese PS3, which is what I'm playing this game on, and Demon Souls was the first game I downloaded. And I love Demon Souls, and I loved it immediately. And that was great. It was really fun playing through Demon Souls. And then shortly after that, Dark Souls 2 came out in like the spring of 2014. So I was playing Demon Souls for quite a few months and then started playing Dark Souls 2. And Dark Souls 2. I know for a lot of people it was their first Souls game, so they're very attached to it. But for me, I liked it in the beginning when I first played it. I was like, okay, you know, they're doing something different, but I was like, well, Demon Souls feels different than Dark Souls 1. Like there's different movement, there's different mechanics. It just feels different. So I was like, okay, every game is just going to feel a little bit different. But the more I played Dark Souls 2, the less I liked it. I, I, I played through it once, and then I started a couple like 3 new characters, and never got through it again because I just lost interest so fast. And then I started a new character because the DLC started coming out, and I downloaded the first one, The Crown of the Sunken King, or whatever it was called. And I started a new character to get to the DLC. And I never ended up getting to the DLC. I got right up to the point where I needed to be to unlock the DLC, and I just gave up. I was like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care. So I've yet to play any of the DLC in Dark Souls 2. But now, like at this point, so I went back to playing like Dark Souls 1 and Demon Souls until Bloodborne came out, and I got a PS4 to play Bloodborne. And I'm so glad I got a PS4. Like, I love my PS4. I love the games for it, the exclusives. It's a great console. Not saying that like the Xbox One or anything isn't a great console. I just love the PS4, and I don't see any reason to buy or to own an Xbox One. But anyway, back to the Souls. Yeah, so Bloodborne came out, and I loved Bloodborne immediately. Like, I love the aesthetic of Bloodborne. I love the style. I love I love the combat. The combat is my favorite part of Bloodborne because I love that fast-paced, like, melee combat. I try to do like magic characters in Souls games, and for the most part, like Demon Souls is really the only one that it's really good to do like a pure magic character because magic is so OP. But you can do it in Dark Souls 1, and you can do it in Dark Souls 2. But I just always give up on magic characters because I just love beating the shit out of stuff and like smacking stuff with a sword or with an axe or whatever.
We meet again,
Oh, we meet the
fancy
Drakeling
that.
again.
Hope you find something that suits you.
I think we talked to him to see if he had anything new to say, and he
It is
didn't.
the end of Great Boletaria as we know it. But hell, at least the demons don't send us to our deaths in battle. The giant lizard. One of the king's pets, just like those demons. That monster leaves a trail of charred carcasses, which is great for business, of course. But unless you're a scavenger like me, you better stay
Yeah,
clear.
well, we already killed him, so no need to worry about that.
It is the end.
But anyway, back to
That monster leaves a trail
back
of unless-
to Bloodborne. Bloodborne's a great game, and it's the only PlayStation game I've ever platinumed. I've platinumed Bloodborne, and I've completed the DLC, the Old Hunters, and yeah, I love Bloodborne. And I played a lot of co-op with my cousin, who's probably watching this, so shout out to him. Um, shout out. But yeah, I love Bloodborne. It's one of my favorite Souls games, along with this game, Demon Souls. But anyway, so I played Bloodborne and I loved it, and I've created tons of characters. Well, not tons, but like a handful of characters in Bloodborne, and played through it and done New Game Plus, and and like I said, I got the platinum, so I did all the trophies and everything.
Thanks for
So
that.
it's really fun. And here this is where I was talking about lore. So I was saying this town here is like the town of Boletaria. We're up in like the castle and the castle walls, and this is the town, the actual town of Boletaria. And that building in the center there, supposedly it could be the Nexus. This was proposed, I heard it proposed by Epic Name Bro back when he was playing through like one of his first Demon Souls runs on YouTube from like quite a few years ago. But he had said that, and it makes sense for a lot of reasons. One, because like it is so prominent there, like it's and throughout this tunnel that we're in right now, there's a lot of openings like this, kind of giving you a view of this city. And from even back in these early days of the Souls series, and I wouldn't even say early days, because From's been making like Kingsfield games before this, and they've been around for a while doing this kind of development of games, this very detailed, world-oriented development. So like they're definitely trying to show you something here by continuously drawing your attention out the side of the castle wall down to that city. And also in the opening cutscene, there's a view of where they talk about Great Boletaria and the colorless fog taking over, and they talk about the Nexus. There's a shot that looks like that city with that building kind of prominently displayed. So there's a very strong implication that that may in fact be the Nexus. Now it might be like another dimension. It's obviously like kind of like another dimension kind of thing, like because you can't escape the Nexus. You can't get out of the building. Like you can't escape the Nexus's hold on you. You're constantly faltering between body and soul form, and you're constantly returning to the Nexus. But you physically can't leave the building either. So it's like kind of like a hunter's dream kind of thing, where it's like it's there, it's a place, but it's not really in the same world or on the same plane of existence, maybe. So it's really interesting. But yeah, I talked a lot about that and about Epic Name Bro, like bringing that up and everything. So that's the whole conversation you guys missed while I was actually playing. But anyway, back to my Souls, history here. So we're on Bloodborne, past Bloodborne now. So we're on to Dark Souls 3. So Dark Souls 3 comes out. Dark Souls 3 is a really great game. I like a lot of things about it, but I also don't like a lot of things about it. I feel that it's not as inventive as Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, or Bloodborne. And I also feel that it's just really derivative. Like, there's no point to having Dark Souls 2 or Dark Souls 3. Not to say, I don't like Dark Souls 2, and I don't think there will ever be a day where I go back and play that game ever again. I don't want to. I don't care. It doesn't interest me. But Dark Souls 3, I actually have been playing through again with my cousin. Shout out. We've been playing co-op a little bit so far of Dark Souls 3, and it's fun. It's fun, and it brings back the fun of Dark Souls 1 of like creating a character and thinking about these different ways to create a character. And that's great because I haven't felt that in a long time, and Dark Souls 3 definitely gives that to me. I know a lot of people have created a lot of different kinds of characters in Dark Souls 2. Again, I'm saying I'm not disregarding that, but for me, like, Dark Souls 2 just didn't do it for me. It doesn't hold my interest. I don't want to play it. That's the last time I'm going to say that. But yeah, Dark Souls 3, for me, it rekindles that excitement of like creating a new character and everything. So yeah, I think Dark Souls 3 is a great game, but I just feel like it's unnecessary. And it's also, like I said, it's derivative because it doesn't do anything new. Like from Demon Souls has its own story and its own world. You're in Boletaria and it's overrun by demons, and there's this King Alant, and he brought the demons here, and he's been corrupted by the demons, and you're using souls to become a demon potentially, and there's all this stuff that is unique to its lore and its setting. And then Dark Souls came along, and it uses the same game mechanics and some of the same thematic ideas, but it presents this whole different world of what is it called? Not Lothric. Lothric is Dark Souls 3. Drang Lake is Dark Souls 2. No, not Loran. That's Bloodborne. Lordran. God, I could not remember the name, but it creates Lordran in this city that was ruled by gods, and they've all fallen from power, and the world is in ruin. Like, it creates this new thing. And then Bloodborne is a completely different setting. Again, it takes some of the same basic gameplay mechanics. It tweaks them, of course, with the battle system and the rally system and blood vials and stuff like that. But it's the same, basic stamina management, action RPG gameplay style. But it has a Victorian kind of like gothic horror set, Lovecraftian horror setting, and it's got its own lore and its own world and its own thing with dreams and reality, and it's its own animal. But where Dark Souls 2 took the lore from Dark Souls 1 and tweaked it, and you have these new enemies that supposedly have the souls of the old bosses from Dark Souls 1, but they're all not as interesting. And then Dark Souls 3, it's like, oh, well, these are maybe descendants, or maybe they're related to some of the things we had in Dark Souls 1. But again, they're a bit more interesting, and the boss fights in Dark Souls 3 are great. Like, those fights are great. The mechanics of them are great. But the bosses themselves and the lore behind them, it's not so great. And, like, the lore, Anor Londo's there just because, well, why not? And, all the timelines are intersecting. So, yeah, why not? Why not just put in Anor Londo? And it's just like, I don't know. It just lacks imagination. And I feel like you could get... I would trade Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3 like they never happened to just have another Souls game that just takes things in a different direction. Like, you have Demon Souls, which is a dark fantasy action RPG. You have Dark Souls, is a dark fantasy action RPG, but they were set up in different ways, like I said, and they have different lore and everything. And then you have Bloodborne, which is a Victorian Gothic action RPG and has its own lore and everything. Like, do another action RPG, do it like sci-fi, or I don't know, like Neo, that's Japanese mythology, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'll play anything. But I don't want to see the same lore recycled and rehashed in a not as good way, or like just trying to tie together loose ends just for the sake of creating a trilogy. Like, I don't know. And I feel like Miyazaki wasn't too keen on the idea of sequels to Dark Souls either, because he wasn't involved in Dark Souls 2. And then I feel like he only came back to Dark Souls 3 because he knew that a portion of the fan base was disappointed with how Dark Souls 2 turned out and how the lore was handled in Dark Souls 2. So the whole thing just isn't, I don't know. It just all doesn't seem necessary. Like I said, I really don't like Dark Souls 2, so I'm not going to say anything for Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 3 is a fun game. It's fun to play if I ignore all this like deep thinking stuff. And some people just don't care. Like, there's like Lobos Jr., the streamer, who's like really big into Souls, and he doesn't give a shit about lore or any of that stuff. He said it himself. He doesn't really care. He could play a game with Souls mechanics and it would just be like stick figures in like a white space, and he would love it. So you can definitely just sit down and play the games and not worry about that shit. But for me, like, the Souls games are like the full experience. It's the exploration, the world building, the lore, the combat, the atmosphere. It's the whole package for me. And so that's why I feel like Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3 just aren't as strong as the other games. Again, that's my opinion. That's my history with the Souls series. And now I'm back playing Demon Souls. And now we're gonna go. I'm gonna fuck up these parries against this Blue Eyes Knight, and then we're finally gonna head in, and then I'll finally get a parry and do a pretty good, crazy amount of damage for how early in the game we are. But that's what you get for duping Dark Moonstone and Dark Moonstone chunks, and you know, getting a +4 Crescent Falchion. And I don't remember where the key to that door is. I thought, well, we'll see in the next episode where I thought it was, but I was totally wrong. And that crystal lizards, goddamn crystal lizards are such a pain in the ass in Demon Souls. I'm glad they changed the mechanics of them in Dark Souls, because they are such a pain in this game. Take out these annoying crossbow guys. So we'll head back down here, and we'll take care of this guy, and we'll finally remember his name, I guess, because I can't remember what he's called. It's just total mind blank right now on this boss's name. We get to see this cool cinematic, though. This fat minister. Tower Knight. God damn it. How did I not remember that? Yeah, the fucking Tower Knight. Jeez. Well, anyway, you can see where a mechanic for a lot of different boss fights throughout the Souls series have come into play. They originated right here with Tower Knight. This is exactly how One Reborn plays out in Bloodborne, and I'm sure there's like some Souls bosses that are like this too. I just can't remember. I don't know if there's any. I don't know if they followed this pattern in Dark Souls 1. I don't remember.
Thou seekest soul power, dost thou not? Then touch the demon inside me. Soul of the mind, key to life's ether. Soul of the lost, withdrawn from its vessel. Let strength be granted so the world might be mended. So the world might be mended. I shall await thine return. Then soul of the mind, key to life's ether. Soul of the lost, withdrawn from its vessel. Art thou done?